Hey guys, Craig here from Push Patterns. Welcome to this video series of how to push 2. In this video, we're going to get an overview of how to use note mode on the Ableton Live Push controller. What we'll do is we'll first learn what note mode is. We'll learn how to use the note layout. Then we'll learn what the scale feature is on the Push 2. So yeah, let's jump onto the Push 2 and check this all out. To access note mode, simply select the note button in the bottom right hand corner. That will illuminate all the pads and will tell you that note mode is engaged. If your pads do not illuminate, you may not have a MIDI track selected. To select the correct track on the Push, simply press one of these buttons at the top here, which will select the tracks within Ableton. So you see, when I select a track that is audio, I can now no longer control the notes on the Ableton Live Push 2 controller, as you cannot control audio with this MIDI controller. So if you go up here and select the MIDI track, that will illuminate all the notes on the pad ready for you to play. So when we jump into Ableton, remember if we go up here, we can access our browser window. We go into instruments, and then if you go to instrument rack, piano and keys, and then grand piano, drag that to the top of the MIDI channel. You now loaded the sound ready to control on the Push. So let's jump back to the Push. Now if I press some of these notes, I have a C major scale. And let's talk about how these notes are organized. So as a default, all the notes are in C major and they are stacked vertically in fourths. And all the colored pads you see are the root note of the key you are in, and they go up in octaves. So let's look at how we can change the root note and the scale and the key of this grid. So if you go to the button that's found directly above note, which is scale, notice our display has changed and given us some options that are all about this note mode here. So first one, if you see there is up here something that says fourths and thirds. That's how the notes are stacked vertically. So if I go up here and I change the dial to thirds, now the notes are stacked in thirds. Okay, we also have another mode which is sequent. So if we go from one side to the other, they go in sequence to each other, or they're in sequence. For the purpose of this video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep it as the default, which is in fourths. Okay, now another thing you have is you have the option to select it in key or chromatic. In key basically means this whole grid is quantized and I cannot play a note that is outside of the chosen key and the chosen scale. So all these notes here will be within C major, which is the default. If I press chromatic, see some of the pads now are not illuminated. So they are the notes in between the scale tones. Chromatics. So let's have a listen how that sounds. Okay, jazzy. Okay, so let's go back to in key. So this is how we change the key of the song by pressing the pads at the top and underneath the display. So at the moment you can see it's set to C. If I want to say change it to B flat, all I need to do is select the button that says B flat. Now that is in B flat major. If I wanted F, etc. Then to change the scale, we simply turn the encoder and it will scroll through the list of all the available scales here. Now, as you can see, there are loads, but I'm just going to go to the next obvious one, which is a minor, which is just scroll down one in the list. So now it'd be quantized to a minor scale. For the purpose of this video, I'm going to stick to C major, which is the default. So I'm going to change that back by turning the encoder and selecting the C button. Now there's a few more options left. So we can arrange how over here where it says layout, fourths and thirds, how the direction of that organization is presented to us. So we can either have the notes stacked in thirds or fourths vertically, or if we select this dial up here, we can change it to horizontally. That's just a personal preference. I have just got used to it being vertically, so leave that there. Also fixed on and off. What that basically means is if fixed is off, when I change the key, this note here at the moment, which is C, when I change the key, say for example if I change it to F again, will now be an F. If I change it to fixed, that note is always going to be a C. So now if I change it to F, it's still a C. Now if you notice the kind of the pink or the colored buttons shifted position, remember this is showing you the root or the key of the scale and where it's situated on the pads. So when it's in fixed on, it will shift. So if I press it to fix off, they shift back again. To leave the scale view, just simply press scale again and it will take you back to your note mode.